Welcome to the Gaia Report. I am Crystal Johnson, a co-host. I'm a climate adaptation strategist and environmental planner. Today we have a phenomenal show for you. Please stay tuned and you will learn about if you have a green band, what you can do regarding touring to be more eco-responsible. And you're also going to learn about environmental youth leaders who are very active in impact work in Brookline, Massachusetts. So welcome to the Gaia Report. Welcome to the Gaia Report. Today we have inspirational guests who are youth leaders here in Brookline, Massachusetts. So please join me in welcoming Sonia and Hannah. Welcome to the Gaia Report.
Thank you.
So please tell everybody your full names. We'll start with you.
Okay. My name is Sonia Bhattacharya, and I'm currently a senior at Brookline High School, and I work with Hannah. We are both leaders of the Environmental Action Club at our school.
Wonderful. And what is your full name and grade?
My name is Hannah Stern-Pite, and I'm also a senior.
Nice. Now, as you know, we've talked, you have an outstanding environmental action club that you guys have a lead role in. Can you tell me a little bit about how you guys got involved into the environmental action club? Love to hear your story.
Yeah, so I got involved sophomore year. I watched the movie An Inconvenient Truth.
Oh, that's true.
And I got super inspired to work to protect the environment. And I joined Environmental Action Club. And yeah, I've been there ever since.
That's really good. I'm sure the people who made the movie Al Gore, everybody is so pleased that, you know, I'm sure it's motivated a lot of people, but then you're proof of that and that you've had great impact and onward. So thank you. And how were you welcomed into the Environmental Action Club?
So I was in English class with Hannah sophomore year, and the club meetings are right after our English block. So Hannah took me to her club one day, and I just fell in love with it the second I got there. They were working on a net metering bill, and they were like working on passing it through the town levels and then through like, the state level. And I thought that like making an impact was so powerful, and I hadn't seen a club with such a great like way to do that.
No, that's very true, because you can have lots of clubs and they have discussions and activities, but it doesn't really sometimes amount to impact that's measurable or goes out to the community. And not to say that it has to have that, but it's really great that the effort that you're putting in then really does change things, so that you serve as a change agent. So that's really great. And so when you were joining the Environmental Action Club and you saw what was happening with the net metering, how did you then focus into the area that I know I'd love to talk about regarding your work with composting? So can you share with how you developed that so that everyone can understand what it is that you've done that's been outstanding?
Yeah, so I think actually around when I joined the club, we got this idea that we wanted to bring composting to this school, and like every day we'd be like, compost, like what are we gonna do? How are we gonna get compost?
Well, what sparked the compost interest, just out of curiosity?
One of the club members said that she had a friend who her friend's school had compost, and she was like, we could bring it here, we could do it here. And basically for like a year it was just kind of all talk and not too much action. And then in last spring we started partnering with the Solid Waste Advisory Committee.
Here in Brookline?
Yeah, here in Brookline, and together worked to bring composting to the school.
Now, what was the significance of composting, just to share with the audience who may not understand? Like, it has like, you know, multiple impact for contributing to like a solution, but what were some of the reasons that you guys are interested in composting?
Definitely, like walking through the cafeteria, we definitely saw like a ton of trash, like wrappers and food that people weren't eating, and like Ziploc bags and stuff like that. And we wanted to do our best to minimize the amount of trash going to a landfill.
That's true. The waste management issue, yet alone on the food side, and something that's be recyclable, it really, it can be horrifying. Yeah. So that's great that you said like there's got to be a solution, and Oh, that's nice. And then, so then when you reached out to the town solid waste committee, how long was that conversation before you were able to implement next steps?
It was pretty long.
I can imagine sometimes with the town.
Yeah.
Now, were you guys the ones involved at that point solely, or was it still a whole Environmental Action Club effort?
Oh, okay, so at that point, we split into different groups.
Oh,
so
okay.
The net metering bill, they had a separate group. They've done a lot of different legislative action. And so they had that group, and then Hannah and I decided to split off into our own group to just focus on composting. And we initially thought that it was initially all talk. We were like, this is such a great idea, but it's so impossible. How do we convince the entire school that we need to have a composting system in our cafeteria? So we started going to there was a public health department meeting.
Yes.
And Mr. John Dempsey, who is on the solid waste action committee, started talking to us. We started meeting in March, and we came up with a plan to start contacting other schools and to get really serious about starting this. And so then the Solid Waste Advisory Committee started talking to the administration, including the assistant headmaster, who has always wanted to bring compost to the school.
That's great.
But we just weren't sure when.
Right.
So that's how it started.
Yeah. So you reached out to other schools to find out what type of composting models they had, what were the challenges, what worked. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Did you find, were they mostly successful stories, or did you learn from from observing them that there were going to be a lot of challenges, and if so, what were they, or what were you concerned about initially?
Well, definitely there are a lot of schools that have successful programs, like Cambridge Ridge and Latin has one, but we also did have some non-successful stories. One of the other seniors in the club, Mary Corcoran, she said at her elementary school, Heath, they had composting for a year or two, and then it ended. So that was one big goal. It's not going to end when we graduate. It's going to keep going.
Right. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so one of the main things that we've been working on for the past 6 months is educating all of the staff and all of the students on how to compost. So once we got the bins, which we got after getting them authorized from the school committee and
how
from
big
the
are the bins? And how
They're
many?
about this big, and we have about
bins.
6, or we have a
one. Yeah.
Okay, so we originally had about 6 large green composting bins.
Okay.
We have a new system now that we can talk about later. But we have that system, and we had to it's changing the school culture. So we really had to students all of a sudden were confronted with the idea that you can't just leave lunch without separating your food. So now they have to separate their food, and we have the composting bins, the recycling bins, and the trash, and they have to actually sort it.
That's so great.
Yeah, so we made some videos with several administrative people, the headmaster and lots of teachers, because everyone loves our headmaster in our school. They love him. So we showed the video at all of the advisories, which is kind of homeroom, so that all the students could be inspired by that.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's really great, because to approach people with a behavior change, it can be complicated, and you guys seem to have not given up from the beginning. You said we want to succeed with this, we wanted to have longevity, we want to have impact, and you guys really created a great path and had great support, but knew how you wanted to target people.
Yeah.
But to have the advisories and have an educational tool there, that's huge. But that's a really smart approach on the behavior change, and you nailed it, it seemed.
Thank you.
And so when you start to do the show the videos and the advisories, you saw a shift almost right away?
Definitely.
Oh, that's great.
Right, in the days right after, people were okay, composting, we know what it is, now we should do it. So initially there was a little bit of a jump, but then it went down a little bit, and so all throughout September and October, we have a graph, and it was the numbers were this, and it was slowly climbing, and then in November there are a few less school days, but it dropped a tiny bit if you compare day by day, and we were a little bit worried that the school had forgotten about why they were composting.
Yeah.
Now, one thing just before we move on, I wanted to clarify, because there's some people out there who may not really understand what composting is. So we talked about, we all consume food and products, and it goes into the trash, or we haven't eaten it. And then, can you explain then what happens from the trash to those bins and what composting is?
Yeah. So actually, like, choosing what we were going to do with the food waste was a really big process. So one option is like the traditional compost method, where you bury food scraps and leave it in a pile, and over time it decomposes and turns into like really nutrient-rich soil, which is like a really cool method, but it's not really feasible like for a school of our size without the space.
That's true.
So
space. Yeah, that's true, very true.
So what we do is we work with Save That Stuff,
okay,
which is a company that picks up our food scraps and brings it to their facility.
Oh, nice.
And so they process it. So they turn it first into this sludge mixture, and then to Lawrence Water Treatment Facility, where they take the sludge and it's anaerobically decomposed.
Nice.
And the bacteria that decompose it release methane, and that gas is used to power the plant. So the plant's actually like totally carbon neutral, which is really cool.
Oh, wow.
And what's left over is treated and cleaned and releases clean water back into rivers or as fertilizer.
Oh, that's wonderful. Your story gets better and better and better regarding the positive impact that you have. It really has a ripple out effect. So you're dealing with waste management and you're reducing waste. And that always helps, like land use and so many other things with transportation and the adverse impacts of that. But then you're also then supporting Save That Stuff, which for any like company out there, I think they can also then have it, yet alone maybe at your house, but you're supporting a green business, and then they take it to a water pollution control plant and they utilize it, and so that helps them to be more energy efficient and cleaner, greener, lower their carbon impact, and you're contributing further there. And then it helps with their water system that integrates wastewater to areas to be cleaner and not have adverse impacts. So you have a whole list of great things that your action, is positively, changing. So I have to say, as change agents, I have to commend you for your brilliance and your strategy and everything that you've been able to pull together the right people. So I'm just really impressed. And I just really want to say thank you so much on behalf of Mother Nature for all that. Now, can we go back? One thing that you'd mentioned was, so Save the Stuff comes to the high school. Do they come once a week, every day, once a month? How do you deal with storage?
They come every day.
They come
every day?
They come every day.
Oh, that's great.
And they come pick up the bins every day.
Oh,
We
that's
have a contact.
wonderful.
At the beginning of the school year, Honda and I both went to Save That Stuff to see the facility ourselves.
Oh, wonderful.
So we got to see them turning the food waste into
my
the
gosh.
sludge. And we also got to see their impact with recycling.
Oh my gosh.
Especially with corporations who have lots of paper waste.
Totally.
They do a lot of different stuff with the paper waste. And in the cafeteria, another big thing that we've done is the recycling has increased a lot, because we have these huge recycling bins next to the composting bins. Before we only had trash barrels. So now students are also recycling. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's such it's great you did the advisories to educate them, but then to have it be part of their day-to-day practice, and they go out, go to college, become these active citizens, but they've already been programmed and motivated to separate and be responsible. So again, you're feeding all these minds that further go out and have changes. So that's so nice. And what are you guys finding that from your next steps, as far as, I know you guys are seniors and you've had this great work with Environmental Action Club and the town values it so much. Do you guys thinking about how it's going to continue next year, and what are your plans for how that will be maintained?
Well, we have a really amazing club. Everyone who's in there is such a great person and really great to work with.
Nice. And they range from freshmen all the way up to seniors?
Yes.
Oh, that's really good.
And also, like, one of the biggest problems that we've tried to overcome with food waste in the cafeteria is having the teachers help direct students and teaching students on what they can and cannot compost.
Oh, that's true.
For example, with the recycling, we have salad bowls, and they're covered in dressing after you eat salad. And that's like too dirty to recycle without washing it off.
Oh, wow.
So we actually have to throw that away into the trash. And the system can get a little confusing, so we've really tried to talk to teachers. We've given a presentation at a faculty meeting to inspire the teachers to stand near the bins during lunches and really help the students.
And the teachers do that.
They're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
doing
so great.
Yeah.
So great. Yeah.
So they've been a major part of the system.
It's
that's
like a
really
whole
great.
school effort. Everyone's working.
That you guys launched. That's really huge. Because for a lot of impact work, it does start with a vision, and you do have to have a lot of players and stir the pot. So it's great that you've gotten tremendous support with your ideas. So going back for like what can be composted. So you were saying that with the salad bowl, it could have been recycled, but then sometimes if it does have certain, I don't say oils or food products, it's just not it's not feasible.
Right.
And so then So what are some of the things that cannot become that's not for like the compost bin, just for our viewers?
So no bones of any kind.
No bones.
Nothing like super hard, because the machine has to break it down.
Got it.
It has to be broken down into a slurry or a sludge.
Okay.
So it can't be too hard.
Okay. And for the machine, that like kind of assuming it heats it in some way, or it just
it like chops
it.
It
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of gross.
All right. That's good.
Yeah.
So then, what else can or cannot be composted as far as lunch?
Okay.
Your food and paper products can be composted.
Paper, nice.
So napkins.
Oh, wow.
Be
Okay.
composted.
We have like paper plates and paper like boats in the cafeteria for most of food.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that can all be composted.
Even if they're bleached paper too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. Didn't
All
know
types
that.
of paper.
Yeah.
Colored paper.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's good.
But it can also be recycled if it's clean.
Yeah.
So usually if you have colored
Yep.
paper, like printer paper, you'd recycle.
Okay. Now
And I think we have compostable utensils in our cafeteria.
Oh, wow.
Except the only thing is they're still like too quote unquote hard.
Is that like
machine.
a corn resin base, or is it something else?
Yeah, I think it is actually. And so they would be composted at like a different site, but just this particular one we cannot. But it's a good effort.
Yes, it is, right? Oh, that is great. So then, just still saying this because I know some viewers are like, what else can you like compost? Because people can also compost at their homes.
They can. Yes.
And there was information on site, especially with Save Their Stuff, so that if they were doing gardening, you can donate it, but it also helps with waste management issues.
Yeah.
So you have to separate if it's dairy or meat, or is that not an issue?
No.
If it's at-home compost, you would want to separate meat and dairy. So that's what I do at my house, because we're worried about pests.
That's
so
true.
If you have like a hunk of cheese, the rats are going to come eat it.
Yes. Mother Nature's cleanup crew will find it.
Yes, they will, and that's not, you don't want that near your house. But it's definitely a really good way to reduce waste. Like my family's down to one trash bag with our compost.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So what do you guys at home, at your house, do with your food waste?
Well, it's like vegetable scraps and peels and like pasta and bread and stuff like that. It goes in we put it in a bucket, and then we bring it down to our compost bin in our backyard.
Oh, nice. And you use that for your gardening? Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And do you grow your food?
No.
Okay. But just beautiful, like ornate gardens.
Flowers.
That's great. Oh, that's really fun.
And I was inspired to do that, like from the club. A lot of people there compost, and
that's great.
that inspired me to start.
Oh, that's really nice. And now I know you guys are going off to college. I'm really excited. And can I ask you like what you may want to study? Do you think you'll still? I'm sure this touches your soul and your spirit. It always will be part of you as far as being environmentally responsible in whatever you do. Because I've always talk that to be a sustainability leader, you don't always have to just study sustainability. Whether you're going to be a dentist or a fashion designer or whatever, you bring that mindfulness and understand how to reduce your impact and so forth, and have resiliency. Can I ask what you guys are interested in studying?
Okay, I'm very interested in studying comparative literature.
Oh, wow.
At Northwestern in the fall
Yay,
next
that's
year.
so great. Congratulations.
Thank you. But in the future, I definitely do want to continue work with the environment, and I can definitely see myself as working with environmental law, or whatever I do in a profession. I'll always be conscious of the environment, and that we really need to help it, no matter what profession you're in.
Right.
You can always.
It's very true.
Yeah.
And I do want to say that because especially for a lot of the viewers, that you don't have to be in particular science or sustainable solutions. It really is whatever it is that you're doing, you can do it with more minimal impact. And that's really empowering for people. Now, what are some things that you may want to be studying?
I'm not sure where I'm going to be next year, but I'm definitely considering studying environmental science.
Okay.
And even if I don't study it, it'll definitely be part of my time.
Nice. And while I know you said you're not sure if you will, what aspect of environmental science interests you right now, or generally?
I'm taking an environmental science class at school.
Oh, that's great.
And it's really, really fascinating.
Oh, that's nice. What are you guys covering?
We learned about climate change, geologic cycles. Right now we're learning about human population, which is super interesting.
Well, actually, the population conversation is like a unspoken elephant in the room regarding climate adaptation planning. And you really cannot talk about it thoroughly and accurately without talking about overpopulation or population. But I'll be very bold here, but because of religious and other personal aspects that it triggers for people, it's not discussed. But on a finite planet with this growing population, where they say, I think, our planet, based on the population, we need like 5 planets to have the resources for this population that we have, yet alone the culture of waste. So even if we had a very sustainable model for how the whole population did, it's still stretching things, but population is a key issue that is usually not discussed. So I commend your teacher for being really progressive and accurate to introduce that.
And also seeing how environmental crises affect different people differently. Like it really disproportionately affects people of color and low-income people.
And just to clarify that, it does definitely in low-income areas, and which generally tend to be more people of color. And it's because they're usually then around areas where there is land use issues, air quality. They're in an inner city where they have these heat island index, they have public health issues, and so that's what happens in the areas that don't have political and financial clout to prevent being near the highway, having plants near them, and so they're exposed to so much, and the climate change heat aggravates all of that. So it is really interesting here in the United States, yet alone also globally, in a lot of the countries that are third world, and rising water, and those areas are going to be inundated, and what that means for their food source, and livelihoods. It's a really complex, convoluted issue that can be addressed, but it is really complex. So that's really great that you have a rich program that's making you think and say, it's not as easy as some things. Not to say that they thought it was easy, but it is quite intense. But it can be addressed. It can be addressed, but that's so nice. One thing I'd love to find out for the Environmental Action Club, what are some of the other things aside from the net metering and the composting? What are some of the other activities that you guys are focused on?
Well, we're planning an ACE assembly.
Now, what is that?
Okay, do you want to explain what ACE is?
So ACE is an organization, Alliance for Climate Education.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so that's their main focus. And they have this really, really cool assembly that really is inspiring and educational.
I used to be on the board of the Boston Green Academy.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and I used to do a lot of things with the EPA and Boston Green Academy to do a youth climate program, and we did have ACE come in, and they did a phenomenal program, and even I think, I don't know if it was them, but there's a group also that did a really phenomenal eco-rap program, and it really had a great messaging. And so there are some really progressive ways to outreach to diverse students regarding the relevance in their life and to give them a voice.
Definitely.
So that's really great.
We're trying to have it right after Earth Day. So we have
nice.
spring break during Earth Day, which is a little bit unfortunate, so that we can't have an assembly on Earth Day at school. But we're going to try to plan it for right after. And we really want to get more of the student population at Brookline High School interested in the environment.
Right.
Because although we have so many environmentally friendly measures in our school, from like we have the whole composting system, and also we have an emphasis on refilling your water bottles everywhere, and not having plastic bottles, and eliminating plastic bottles in the classroom, especially for particular teachers. They don't let you take plastic bottles in the classroom.
Oh, wow.
And really trying to get that message across. Some students still aren't really understanding the consequences that we have on our planet.
Right. Wow. I'm so happy to have met you, and I knew that you guys did great things in the Environmental Action Club, but I was even really more impressed. And I just want to thank you on behalf of Mother Nature for your leadership and for your diligence and for your strategy. And I know wherever you guys both go, you're going to have a really bright future and great impact. And as someone who does impact work, I'm so thankful that there's a next generation of 2 leaders who will be there, moving things forward. So I wish you success and happiness, and I'm so thrilled to have met you and learned all that I did. And again, I just want to say on behalf of Mother Nature, from the Gaia Report, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing all your work you've done with the Brookline High School.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Aspen Johnson-Zagar with the Gaia Report today. Did you know that many of the most popular musicians are also eco-friendly? As more and more musicians realize the power of their influence on devoted followers, the more they use their stage appeal for greater green good. Adam Gardner, the Guster guitarist and vocalist, co-founded Reverb, an organization dedicated to assisting touring artists by making activities more environmentally sound. He says more bands are looking at the impact of their tours and wanting to green them up. Some green tours have even become company-wide policies and practiced by venue owners and promoters like Live Nation. Adam Gardner of Guster says that as someone who has been in a band on tour for the last 20 years, his experience has been that lots of bands have felt badly about their impact on the planet while on tour, but just weren't sure what to do about it, and the road staff didn't have the capacity to take on any other work. Reverb has really guided the music community when it comes to making action on behalf of the environment. From biodiesel tour buses to sizable donations for environmental causes, many musicians are creating closer connections with the planet and their fans' support. On behalf of Mother Nature, the Gaia Report thanks Reverb for their outstanding eco-ness. Here are 5 top musicians who are super eco-responsible: The Roots, Maroon 5, Bruno Mars, John Legend, and the Slash of Guns N' Roses. So what can your band do to be more green? Well, visit reverb.org. To all the creative musicians out there and on behalf of Mother Nature, thank you and rock on!